All right. One of the things, one of the mistakes many people make is when they want to adopt, they immediately go to a children's home, like New Life, start bonding with the children. And this is mostly pre-COVID. Right now with COVID, I'm sure there are very many restrictions in children's homes. We're not getting volunteers or visitors so that we can keep the children and the staff safe and also the public safe. But in the normal circumstances, many people would start volunteering in a children's home. And then, of course, almost like hunting for a child. And then they say, I want this one. And maybe they've not even started the process. And they really fall in love with this child and they want this child. Please talk a little bit about pre-selection and what the law says about that, and explain it in layman terms.
Okay. Pre-selection is a technical term that is used by social workers working in adoption and, of course, children's officers. It simply means that you started the adoption process after you had met the child. That means you selected the child instead of allowing the system to select the child for you, select a match for you. The dangers of that, of course, is that you will probably bond with a child who may not be free for adoption. That's the biggest danger. And then it's going to be heartbreaking for you. That child may also be having legal issues. That child may still be knowing their family and the family is waiting for them. For the child, the family is probably going through a very different process. Some families have trauma that allows them to either lose a child or find the child in a children's home. Now, my advice, if you really are looking for an adoption or you're looking for whatever arrangement, you want a child into your house, and you find yourself, the first point of information, of course, for many of us is the children's home. But go clearly and say, I am coming to see if I can take a child home. I am coming to see if I can have a child for myself. That way, the people at the officers at the children's home will immediately guide you. This is the adoption process, go to an adoption agency. Or this is the best process for you if you're only available for certain situations, for example, foster care. And in your situation, this is what would happen. That allows you to have a very professionally done process before. It's discouraged, especially by those of us who practice adoption, and of course, the child protection officers, we call them children's officers. That pre-selection is completely discouraged. Even that thing of you go to the you go and find a child, or you find a lost child and go to the police station and then go home with the baby. In law these days, it's not allowed. You go to the police station and ensure that the child does not sleep in your house. You take the child to a children's home. If you want to follow up anything after that, please contact the children's home and arrange for an adoption, because that child may still have issues. And so the pre-selection is discouraged because the amount of documentation, the amount of care, the amount of legalities that a child has to go through and an adult has to go through a proper adoption has to be done, and it's very intricate. Any breakdown in that process may cause legal issues and may cause a lot of trauma, both to you and the child. As Janet has said, we have experienced quite a number of people going through very traumatic times because simply they didn't say. They thought that child was available. They went and bonded. They were looking for a girl or a boy, and then they went and bonded. So to put a full stop to that, or probably to put a comma to that, the question is who matches, who chooses the child for you? And I'll say it's the system. It's the social workers through a very structured process of when you came in to look for a child, this is the kind of child you were looking for. I was looking for a boy who is very young, maybe as young as possible. We have people filling forms of as young as possible. And yeah, so we match your family background, many times also physical features, to your requests and also the child's needs, where the child was found, where the child is, and things like that. So there is a structured process. We actually have a checklist called a matching form, where the social workers at the adoption agency and the children's home work together until they find that is a suitable match. Over to you.
Yes. So the first step, and we really encourage this, the first step is not to go to a children's home. If you've made the decision to adopt, that you'd first go to an adoption agency, and they will guide you through the process, and you can ask all the questions. And like Grace said before, there will be the counseling, really help you to understand the process, help you to sift through your even emotions. You know, there are people who may watch this tonight and out of just deep emotions, they said, I'm going to adopt, or your neighbor adopts a child and you said, I'm going to adopt. But just helping you to go through that process, ensuring that your family is on board. If you have other biological children, to ensure they're on board. So the first step really is to go to an adoption agency. And I've met people who say, you know, adoption takes so long. And I keep saying, you know, part of it is also BD yako, in the sense that if tonight you listen to us and you decided to go to any of the adoption societies, if you took your forms on Monday, for instance, then you sat on them for 3 months and said, oh, now it is November, then it's Christmas, then it's January, let's wait for February. Then February, you start working on your forms. Then you sit on them a little bit, and then you eventually make your way back to the adoption society in June. Then you go through the process, and you're always postponing things. By the end of the process, there's some people who say, you know, it took me 3 years. And when you sit to ask, why did it take 3 years? You find that sometimes the delay was not so much in the process of the adoption society or the law, but more on the applicant. So again, if this is something that you or you as a family have decided to do, for those of you who are people of faith, if you've prayed about it and you're convicted, get those documents and really follow the process through systematically.